Welcome to the Wisdom Seat podcast. In this episode, Michael Carroll sat down with Ron Rojas, CEO at Continental Sales, Lots for Less, a discount store on the south side of Chicago. Started by Ron's father in 1965, the store has gained a loyal customer base and sees upward of 1,000 sales a day. Ron and Michael discuss the thrill of treasure hunting and the company's values, which includes mindfulness, community, and joy. This episode was originally produced by Applied Mindfulness Training as part of their Mindful Voices series, and we're grateful for their partnership in sharing it here. You can learn more about their work at appliedmindfulnesstraining.org.
Welcome, Ron, to this Applied Mindfulness podcast. I'm honestly really looking forward to this conversation, though you and I have had so many conversations. But just to sort of lay the land here, essentially what this is about, the kind of conversations that we want to be in are with men and women like yourself who practice mindfulness, awareness, meditation, and bring that wisdom into how it impacts your livelihood, your day-to-day engagement with the world, mostly through work, but other areas, mostly through work. And that's kind of the thrust of these conversations. And you and I go back. We've had many fun conversations. And I'm really looking forward to this. So welcome, and welcome to the audience. Let me begin by saying why I think I'm going to find this conversation so much fun is, well, first off, why don't you just tell us a little bit about Lots for Less, a little bit about the background of the business you're in, and give the audience just a kind of a headline view of the business that you've built. I know it's a family business, 50 years old. It started by your dad, Mickey. But tell us a little bit about this, what I consider to be an absolutely fascinating business.
Well, hello, Michael. Thank you. I really am honored that you even invited me onto the podcast here. So one thing about our business is I get out of even the tone of your voice is it is super fun. And we're basically we're a company who buys large volumes of product that's being liquidated by manufacturers, distributors, other retailers. We buy it at a good price and then resell it to our customers in the primary way through our retail store, a deep discount retail store in Chicago, very close to Midway Airport. We serve about 800,000 plus customers a day. We've had on certain days lately, wait a minute,
800,000 customers?
No, 800 to 1,000 customers.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
no, 800 to 1,000 customers per day. Most recently, we've been having lines that like to check out are like unusually long, and we're taking steps to better that. But it's just a really cool place. There's a lot of great values to be found. It's like kind of that bargain hunt type, and people just find a lot of joy in that and finding things that are something that they could use on a day-to-day basis at a great price that they may normally not find at that price or that value.
Yeah. So we're going to get into the joy part here, because I think this is a key element to the leadership you've brought to this. But I just want the audience to understand this is 20,000 square foot retail space that has 800 to 1,000 discrete purchases and visits a day. Is that correct?
Yeah, sometimes more, but around that, yeah.
So that's like that alone indicates that you have a very loyal community and a seriously vibrant business.
You touched upon one thing right there, actually, the aspect of community, because I think that, but aside from our team that I'm most proud of, that it's a community type store, is like you just get the feel like people know when they walk in that it's that one of our social media coordinators wants to work on a piece where it's like has the Cheers theme in the background where everybody knows your name. So you still have that feel, which I enjoy very much.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into that in a moment, because the dynamics that are so fascinating to me, and there are many here, but is the notion of social responsibility, community building, joy, and mindfulness. they all come together in the vision of what you've accomplished here. And I'm looking forward to investigating it. But let me just give the audience a better view, not a better view, but a deeper view into what you do each day. And let me just say to the audience that Ron and I have had these conversations, and I get so fascinated about this that I can spend hours just listening to him tell stories. But here's an example, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, about this example. But Ron will get a call from, let's say, Keeblers, who says, hey, we have a tractor trailer that went off the side of the road in Jabip, Alabama. And we have 40 pallets of chocolate chip cookies that we really just need to move on. We're not going to retail them. We're not bringing them to this. Would you like to purchase them and sell them to your customers? And immediately Ron goes, yes. And the price that you get it is probably, 90% off? More than that? What typical discount do you get from something?
What you're describing is one of the avenues that we get product from. So there's several different avenues. And in that scenario where it's a salvage type situation, which our company was built on, it's actually we're incorporated as Continental Salvage. That is kind of the process, and usually it's not usually the manufacturer, it's the insurance company or the trucking company who needs to get rid of the product off the truck. They're just happy to get it off the truck. We negotiate a price, and we've been doing business with so many of them for so long that they know the price is going to be fair, whatever for that particular item.
Right.
Is because a truckload of Oreo cookies or Keebler cookies that you're describing might go at a very higher price than a truckload of just a random
I got it. The brand
widget. Yeah.
But nonetheless, you get them at severely deep discounts, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the fun parts of your job is for the audience, is Ron is on a constant treasure hunt for opportunity. And it's just personally for him, at least my experience, it's exciting.
And it's just like almost like the customer. I get to be like our customer when I'm buying for the store.
Which translates into really no inventory. Your product comes in and moves. You don't hold on to inventory. People want this product. And all right, let's go into let's move now into what I consider the spiritual aspect of your business, which is the combination of social responsibility, joy, community building, and mindfulness, right? So, one of the thing that I remember about visiting you in Chicago, and I got to visit you a couple of times, as you recall, many years ago. I don't know how many years it's been, but I went to your store and we walked around, met some of your employees, and I went up to the upper office that has a window out that can oversee the whole 20,000 square feet. And I was just observing. And I think I recall you said to me, so what do you think? And I said to you, you know something? When I'm looking out here, everybody is having fun. It looks like everybody's having a good time. It looks like joy is like the main dynamic that seems to weave together. Like people seem excited when they come into your store, and they seem excited as they go through the store and discover, and then even come up to the cashier's situation. There seems to be some level of authentic kind of pleasure and kindness. Kindness isn't the right word, though it's there. It's like joy or delight.
Yes.
Say more about this inherent dynamic and how you have chosen to place it at the center of your culture.
Well, I would answer that question in two parts. That would be one, first and foremost, is the way we approach our team and people. And the way we approach our team and people in regards to their growth and development into bringing out the best in them, then translates into what the customers feel. So now the customers are feeling that from our team, but they're also obviously feeling it from the values that are in the product that's out there. So they have on a two-front basis being, seeing happy team members interacting with them while also getting these great values. And the store, when I originally started, it was mostly salvage and then a salvage product at a deep discount price, but it could be random stuff. Like there was I think it was like a transmission was in the store and just these random different items. So as time evolved, as the business evolved, I started buying more product that people needed on a day-to-day basis. When we did that, at first I had to buy product that was a good value, but not a great value. But as I honed my craft and started buying better and better, we started finding better deals throughout the store where most of the store is at a significant discount and so I think that combination of them both is what transmits into joy,
Right.
For the customer, the way they feel, the way they're treated, and also what they're seeing when they're in the store. Not to mention, I mean, we're getting feedback and thank you notes and from people that are on very limited budgets, and that's just another level of, I would say, the social responsibility between, it's like where people that, they normally couldn't afford some of these things that they would buy and then are happy and feel grateful, actually really grateful to buy it. And at the same time, we're providing a service where sometimes this product might actually be disposed of. And instead of going to a landfill, it's into a store and being consumed and used. So that's how I would how I feel about those two things.
Got it. So there's a lot of threads I want to pull out here, if I may. The first element that kind of inherently has joy in it is the very adventure of coming into the store and finding deals and finding interesting items that maybe people wouldn't have access to. And that adventure in and of itself brings a certain level of excitement and human delight. The other element is that you deliberately train and inspire your staff to enjoy themselves, to actually bring joy to the very interaction of their work with their customers and with what they do. Those are the two pieces so far? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how do you train? Because I want to get to the community element of providing services and products that they would not normally have access to as a working class community. We'll get to that in a moment, but let's stick with those two items and focus in on what do you do with your employees about instilling joy or provoking joy or unleashing joy in them?
Well, we provide the environment for that to come out where a lot of our team members came from places where they were treated more like an object. We actually see an actual human being and someone inside there actually behind the face that actually is living in there. And we do it with our leadership. We do it internally, and you have your basic training, but it's really, there's not training on how to be a kind individual. We instill kindness into the training. And what I mean by that is just the way we communicate, the way we treat each other. And so, but then also for our leaders, it'll go past that in regards to additional training. And what I believe through mindfulness practice and training over the years, that I was always in search for another type of leadership training that would support the growth of the leaders even stronger. And I found that a group called Radical Leadership, Therese Keenis and Therese Sparvey out of Minnesota, and they really do a great job of tapping into our essence and actually bringing the responsibility back to us about how we want to live our lives. And it's called Radical Leadership. But it was just so fascinating how our team responded, because there was a lot of, let's call it more your corporate world that would have gone to retreats like this. And we have supervisors and managers and senior leadership all going to this type of training where we would tap into bringing out like that it's about your well-being is your responsibility, and the well-being of everyone around us is our responsibility. So that comes out in a way where I feel that it's we get responses where it's like nobody, never had that type of anybody that showed that type of care for me, or let alone. And so that was really heartwarming that that there was something inside them that they didn't even know was there. And to be able to provide that, what do you call it? The nourishment and the environment and the
nourishment
container. That's the word I was trying to get. The container where they could go to. This is 3 or 4 days away. And in the corporate world, that's kind of no big deal that people go. Not no big deal that you leave and go. But for some of our people, they weren't even on a plane yet. Like some of our team members, and they never been on a plane, or they never left. They never left the state. So to be able to take, or left their children to leave and actually give themselves that much time to really focus on themselves and their own development, that would make them both leader and a better mother, father, and so forth.
Yeah, it strikes me as one of the core elements here is what I would call kind of an authentic caring. That you create an environment where people feel authentically cared for. And not just from the point of view of like, oh, I care for you, but like that in order to create a culture that can welcome a community day in and day out, you have to create an environment in which people are authentically cared for.
As you know, that doesn't also always, that's not always warm and fuzzy or mushy, or it's also very building strength within.
Right. So that brings us to then the shift here. That's the first thing that really strikes me about what you've accomplished here is this, I guess we'll call it a sandwich of joy, right? You sandwich your customer, these 800 to 1,000 people that come into your store every day, between two elements of joy, which is an atmosphere and a store that by definition invites everyone to get excited about the experience. And then simultaneously a staff that takes care of their hearts and their minds in such a way that they actually bring joy to the interchange, to the retail interchange. And the customer is sandwiched in that. And I know that you measure this. You actually survey your customers to find out what quality of joy is. You get pretty high marks, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing. Could you imagine if all stores made joy at the center of their experience? I'd go shopping more, I think, probably. Anyway, but that now moves us to the next element of this, which is around community and social responsibility. I think the audience may already be picking up that, like, for example, some of your employees have never even been on a plane before, and that they feel honored and treated with respect that you would spend this money on sending them to training and things like that. But that is kind of a small window into a larger community that your store serves, which is a working class, Chicago community of men and women with families, family community. Say more about who are the men and women that come into your store day in and day out.
Well, it's very diverse. It's like a big melting pot in the store, which is fun. And we tend to have customers at our current location that are on the, I would say 55, 60 older, probably is like 40% of the customers. So that are on, more on fixed incomes. And known about the store for a long time. Mm-hmm. We have customers that are on public aid, and that's and buys a tremendous amount of food product that we sell in the store, which makes us very unique in our industry of how much actually food we sell compared to general merchandise, and everything in between. So it's there's that days where you see a Mercedes or Tesla in the parking lot, and there's days that you see everything in between. We have people walking from the bus stop, and we have people that, so it's really all over the place as it regards to the type of customer.
Right. But I could see why someone who is more well off would enjoy coming to your store because of the adventure, because of the tone and atmosphere. But my impression, which I think is accurate, is that to a great degree, what your retail store does is provide product basically to a community that would not typically have access to the quality and the variety of that product at the price point that you give, that you make things available to a community, like you said, people on fixed income or people on Medicaid who are not as maybe as privileged as I am, that's for sure, who have access to a wider range of really good product at a very affordable price that they would not normally have. Is that accurate?
Yeah, 100%. And so whether it's products like, for example, we have some like right now, I think we just sold in the last 2 months, 5,000 units of Sensodyne toothpaste at over 50% of, Walmart and Target's price. And so that's an item that maybe the customer is buying 3 or 4 of them, but only buy now because on their budget, they maybe can only buy one of them at a time or something like that. Or they're still just buying one, but never would be able to buy that for their teeth if they needed it. Now, that's just one example. And it ranges in the range of health and beauty type product and supplements we carry to as fun as we have over 150 skids right now, pallets of name brand toys that we're selling at 50% off of Target and Walmart's price as well.
Right.
So there's this range of, and I know that might not lend into the spectrum of social responsibility, but in some regards, it does. It relates to a customer and I'm sorry, I'll come back full circle because maybe it does, as it relates to the joy that the parent has that says like, oh, I could have not maybe afforded this item that's $100 item that you're selling for $50 or $40, and now they can. Is that what you're referring to?
Well, let me just be very clear. I mean, for myself, I find this one of the most, a very inspiring, socially responsible business for this very reason.
Yeah.
You could, like those toys. I don't know what toys they are, but I'm sure they're nice toys and you're selling them at a deep discount. You don't have to sell them at a deep discount. I've always looked at your margins. I'm like shocked that you get a $25 item that you bought at a deep discount for, let's say, $4, and you sell it to people for $5. You could have sold it at 9, 10, 12. You don't. You try to pass along access, not just go after profit. And as you just said, there's toys here that a grandmother is buying for a child that she would never have access to, but you made sure they did. And there's joy there.
Yeah.
So, I'm not like, I loved Mother Teresa, and I read her stuff to this day. And if you could do a Mother Teresa, God bless. But these little joys, this is powerful stuff in my mind, powerful stuff. And as I know you are proud, you should be proud of that. Hey, just because saying this to the audience, this is what I love doing with Ron. Hey, Ron, tell me what one of the most exciting kind of finds you had that you passed along to your customer that was recently most fulfilling for you or most satisfying?
Well, I still have to go back to the one, and I don't know what would qualify as recent, but when we had that truckload of all of these shoes, and I remember calling and telling you about these truckloads of winter boots, shoes, all of that, and instead of pricing it out, per like looking up each item and selling it 50% off of their price, we just said everything was I think it was $5 it was $5 for all the shoes, and it was somewhere like $8 or $10 for all the winter boots. So we just separated them between like these $50 boots, and I think that's what the type of savings, the type of what you're talking about, that you don't have to. We could sell it for a higher profit for a longer period of time. But to be honest, I don't find that fun. I don't feel that's I don't feel that's joyful, because I actually like seeing people get excited about the values and what it and then they share that with others.
Yeah.
And just naturally, we don't spend any money on advertising, and this is probably this is why.
Yeah. Well, I think this illustrates perfectly one of the dynamics here about how this joy is infectious, even in how you choose to pass along value to people, and that is a beautiful thing, and I remember the boot story. I love that stuff, how you find things and you hand it along. But back to the social responsibility issue. So I think the audience understands this, that the ability for you to create relationships with insurance companies, other retailers, et cetera, to be able to create a funnel, a predictable funnel of inventory of quality goods that normally the community that you serve would not have access to, but now has access to in a joyous environment at a great price that they can bring home and pass that value on to their families and friends and to themselves. That this is kind of a virtuous circle that is proven relatively nicely profitable. We don't have to throw our numbers around here, but I know you employ many. How many people do you employ?
Currently, it's around 57, 58.
So that's the kind of the process, the beautiful, delightful process of the whole thing. Let's talk about community now. You've been in this community where you started with your dad, Mickey, who started this. Share a little bit about Mickey, if you could. Your dad was quite a presence, so to speak.
Yeah.
Just a little bit about him and how he started this, and then we'll bring it to the future here about how you have built community and how you serve community.
I think a great story about my dad and how the business started was he was very resourceful. And he was, in the way that how even the name came to be, was him and his partner at the time were at the current store that was going to be their first retail store. They were just wholesaling in their first retail store, not about 15 minutes from where the store is at now. There's this, they bought this building, and the storefront was prior called Continental Health Spa. And so they just sawed the sign in half and it became Continental Salvage. And I give that example as that about resourcefulness, because my dad was like, there was always that, like, he articulated it very well in that, there's you find stuff at a great price and you pass those savings on to the customer while making a nice profit in between so that you could take care of your team. And so that's really was passed on.
Right.
That aspect of it, the actual model. And my dad was very generous, and he's that community family type feel started with him.
Yeah.
And there's team members that have been here. One of them that's been here for, I think he's going on 39 years this year, and he's first day of the job. My dad has him there, and at the time he didn't speak any English, and my dad brought him in and asked him. He came in a suit and tie to a salvage store. Came in a suit and tie, and my dad just asked one question to him and says, "Do you speak English?" And he said yes. He goes, "Okay, you're hired." And so that gentleman, Ray. He's like, "You want to go home and change?" He's like, "No." And he just started working in the suit,
right,
cleaning off product, the dust and whatever on a product, and putting product on the shelf. So that just gives a little example of how my dad brought his essence into the business.
Right. And your dad came from Mexico. Was he immigrated from Mexico, or?
He was born in Texas, but my grandma moved over, and he was born in Texas, but then they didn't move to Chicago not until I think he was in his early teens.
I see. All right. So thank you for that, because I remember you telling me such cool stories about your dad all the time. It's fun to feel the energy of that heritage that you have, that legacy. But let's look at this community issue because it has many aspects to it. One is obviously the 58 employees. You have a gentleman like Ray whose loyalty and commitment has been with the business for all this time. You also have the obvious community of the men and women and children and families that come into your business every day, that 800,000 people that come in. But then there's the larger community around your store that kind of, and I also see on your website, we've talked about this, that you do social services, you prepare meals, you do things for the community. Help me understand your perspective on what Continental Salvage Lots for Less community is. What is your perspective on that?
It's interesting. Somebody asked me that a couple of weeks ago, and I said, we're here to serve. Simply, we're here to serve. And when we hear stories of people in need, we listen. And we listen to what they need. And sometimes that's physical support. Sometimes that's financial support. When you listen, you start hearing this amazing things that people are doing to relieve suffering in the world. And it's just a beautiful thing. Whether it's, there's this one organization that I met, it was a while ago, but we still consistently support them, called My Block, My Hood, My City. And this young gentleman started field trips for these inner city kids, taking them to areas outside of some really tough spots in the city of Chicago on field trips outside of school, they would visit a cultural aspect of that part of the city, a cultural center of that part of the city, and then take them to lunch at a minority-owned restaurant. And just to share with the kids of what is possible. And so he's continuing to do great work. So, and then there's, as you see on the website, there's a homeless shelter not too far from our store that we continuously sponsor any way we can. And we don't seek them out for any type of marketing type of situation, or it's part of a marketing budget.
Oh, really? I would have expected, given your philosophy, that you're only aligning with them to give some kind of credit.
No, but the whole point of that was that life happens and people show up in your life,
right,
and you're introduced to this. So this is a way that I could use the business to help what's going on around the community very close to us, and like you mentioned, just outside of our area,
right?
And there's, as you know, there's lots of stuff going on, and so we say yes to everything. Right. We literally do. We say yes to everything where we can help.
Yeah. This is I've not been able, I've only visited your shop, I think 2 or 3 times. I can't remember, but I can see it in my own mind's eye. And I only got to know some of your employees. I didn't get to know your customers well, but in my heart, I kind of sense that there are people that there's a familiarity to your property that people grow up with, that families are familiar with. That there's a certain, it's not like going to, not that Home Depot's bad. I mean, I say hi to the people at Home Depot and all that kind of stuff, but it's Home Depot, it's Home Depot.
It doesn't have to just be Home Depot though.
Well, go on, say more. Why?
If you're tapping into the best of human potential and the best of the spirit, to bring out the spirit, it doesn't matter what it is. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not running Home Depot and I don't know the complexities of tapping into the human spirit at each one of those individuals. Yet it all comes down to a person-to-person contact. And I think so I don't know, I see it as the same, even though it's different, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. And I don't want to put that on the side because that's one of the core elements that I think when we get to the mindfulness element that we're going to get to. So just let me put that here for just a second. I wanted to get back to this feeling of warmth that I think, like I imagine myself as a child coming to your store with my grandma or my dad. And there's a sense of wanting to be there. I mean, in my heart. I didn't talk to any little kids. I mean, I saw some of them running around. But you have stories like that of people who see that as kind of part of their world and in a trusted place. Help me with this? Am I imagining?
Yeah. So I wish I could have some scientific data for you that showed how many times like you see our team members smiling. And so then say, well, because we're smiling this many times a day, look at what that's turning into. And what I mean by that is that because that's happening, there's just a feeling that there's a lot that happens from a smile.
Yeah.
And why they're smiling is for many different reasons, I'm sure. But one inherent reason is that it's like there's an environment there that you feel compelled to smile, that you're enjoying yourself while also working. And so I think that is what translates to the customers of that feeling, and then you see it back. So I was being a little flip about like scientifically tracking it, but I think that's one thing that I see out of our team, which I'm so absolutely proud to be part of, and seeing it out of the customers that reflected back to us. And so I don't know if that answers your questions.
Now, there is science on this, and maybe you and I'll. Not that I need a scientist to tell me that smiling makes other people happy. Boy, what a discovery! But there is research on this. There was something in the New York Times about this recently. But essentially, I've read some research, and there's people in the audience are going to go, "Dude, you got the numbers wrong. What's the matter with you?" But here's essentially what I recall is they did a survey of a county. I think it might even have been in Pennsylvania. I'm not sure, but they did a reliable survey of a county using certain survey tools to determine the level of happiness. And it came up, I don't know, 40% on a scale of 100. It was kind of mediocre. Then they but they inspired about 100 people in that county over a period of like 30 days to go and express gratitude and cheerfulness to people randomly wherever they went, whether it was in the school or at the store or at the church or with a neighbor or mowing the lawn, whatever. And they did that for I think 60 days or something. They went back and they took a survey, and the joy factor had skyrocketed. That there is this healthy, natural chemistry of being human with one another that creates sanity in the world. I mean, It's just a matter of doing it and feeling it and being it. And that's what I hear you saying.
Yeah, I do. I feel that as well. You mentioned the gratitude, and I think that's what our team feels. And I think our customers feel it as well.
Good. Well, let's go to mindfulness now. We have about 15 minutes or so. Because guess what? This podcast is about mindfulness. I know you're a practitioner of mindfulness. We practiced together and talked about it quite a lot. And I'd like to hear you speak about, well, what role has that played for you in building this culture and leading this culture? And I think you began to talk about it when you properly corrected me, frankly, about Home Depot. When I said, well, it's not Home Depot, and you immediately corrected me and said, whoa, Home Depot could be a great environment for sanity.
Exactly.
Why not? Right? Say more about that. And how does mindfulness work in for all of this?
Well, for me, my practice has helped me just understand, I think, and just have a different relationship with my mind, my heart, and my body, different than prior to the meditation practice. And I feel that in that process of getting familiar with my thoughts and getting familiar with the emotions that percolate from life and how my body responds to those thoughts and those emotions, I feel that when I'm open and I listen, it brings out a natural inherent wisdom that's already there, that would just like want to do nothing but exude love. And that's where my practice, I feel, has benefited me in my work life and with my wonderful wife, Nicole.
So let me repeat this back. So if I heard you correctly, what you said is, when I started practicing, a shift happened. There was before practice and there was after practice. My relationship with my mind and my body and my emotions before I practiced was actually different after I practiced. And in doing the practice, I discovered a kind of a wisdom that I could use in how I related with my life, and particularly at work. And I guess the essence of it is love. Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah, and I just correct one thing. Like, it's not something that I'm just consciously thinking they're to use, or like it's back to the, it's actually it just happens. And I'm continuously discovering new things about myself to be kinder and more gentle to myself, and with no agenda in mind, and except for that process of taking a big monster bite out of this human experience and getting all the juice from it that I possibly can.
Yeah. Well, so I'll play the skeptical audience member, right? Which is, okay, that sounds really good, Ron. I mean, that this meditation makes you more gentle and loving. I mean, how does that work? I mean, I've seen some videos of people doing this practice, and all they're doing is just sitting there. But how does that make you more gentle and more loving? I mean, come on.
Well, when you sit there long enough, for as long a period of time, and you start noticing that that there's this, how do I want to say it? That there's this space in between in the mindfulness practice when you're sitting there breathing, and you have a thought and you're aware of the thought and you come back to the breath. I think it's indicative of life, and that you could see there's with the practice of doing that and keep coming back, is there builds space in between me, the one who's observing the thoughts, and the thoughts themselves. And so that aspect has some power to it that, as you know, there's people out there that in the scientific world and that can tell you all the reasons why. I just know me, Southside Ron, doesn't have road rage anymore. And I used to be crazy on the road, 20 years ago, 15 years ago. It's gone. So these are things that happen. I didn't have on my to-do list, get rid of road rage. It just happened over time. And I wasn't happy with that part of me, of the way the anger expressed itself there. But during the course of practicing and learning and listening to the obscene amount of teachers throughout the years, including yourself, about the topic, it just has transformed life for me.
Yeah, I never knew you called yourself Southside Ron. I like that.
Well, that's just one ad. That was just one. That was the road rage Ron.
Road rage Ron. Yeah, I think the issue is, for me, is in doing the practice. Well, I've been doing it almost 50 years now, and I still get pissed off at driving a car. But how I get pissed off when I drive a car now? I laugh at myself. Like, my wife and I make it like a puppet show when we get angry. We over-exaggerate it and make it like funny, So it doesn't really take the impulse away. It's almost like it doesn't have a life of its own. You can play with it more. When someone cuts you off, or or those big giant trucks that kind of tailgate you, that kind of thing. It makes me cranky, but then I watch my mind and it's kind of funny. And at least I have a sense of humor about it.
Well, I'll say to that, that was just one disturbance that I overcame. I'm not talking about the ones where a salesperson comes in and tries to tell me what the cost is of the product and tells me what to sell it for. That causes a different disturbance that I must need a deeper level of practice to get through.
Yeah, right. So, excuse me, are you talking to me?
You know our customers so well.
That's right. But, I think the issue for me as I've done this practice is this gentleness that we bring to our engagements in life, kindness that we bring. It really starts by sitting still, begins to dawn on us as kind to ourselves, at least for me.
Yeah.
It's just like, I can just sit here. I don't have to be in hand-to-hand combat with life all the time, trying to get somewhere, be better, be smarter, be good, be someone else. I can just be myself and be kind to myself. And that gentleness toward ourselves, for me, I speak for myself, it's like then I can give everybody else a break because I gave myself a break. I'm a knucklehead. Okay, relax.
Being an A-type, constantly do person. The meditation wasn't, and not all the time. It's a lot easier now than it was before, but it was not easy for me to do. Of what does this mean? Like non-doership. What are you, crazy?
Right.
How does anything ever get done then? But this is just a different level of being kind to ourselves, I'm still exploring to this day of, overcoming habitual patterns that,
Yeah, I'm next door, that's for sure. I'm still, my wife could tell you, living with me, I wouldn't want to live with me, for God's sake. So, all right. Well, let's just push into the mindfulness a little bit more, and then I'll ask you one final question. The way you and I met was around mindful leadership, the whole notion of inspiring the best in others. And, that sounds good. And you've given us some stories here, obviously, about how you do that with your employees and your customers. And what does that really mean? How does mindfulness actually help you inspire the best in others?
That's a great question. And I think it would be better answered by others, but I'll do my best to answer that. Once you get through some of your own stuff, we'll call it stuff, that we each deal with on a day-to-day basis that causes anger, aggression. And once we can work with that with ourselves, you just said it earlier, it naturally happens that I can be kind and gentler to others. That's what, I don't know if I answered the question or if you,
no,
yeah.
Keep going. We're taking notes.
Yes.
Everyone's taking notes. Keep going.
And so that's, you start seeing through some of the things that our minds particularly think that it really needs, when in reality, it's just this veil of kind of like I don't know how to say it. There's this, we think that there's something on the outside that's going to make us whole on the inside. And I think meditation has helped me, and practicing, and teachers have helped me understand that that is not the case at all. The case is that it's inside, the inside, we get clean on the inside, and then we're able to share what that clean for me equals love, and then we're able to share it with others. And so that's what this whole process means to me at this point in my journey.
It's beautiful. I would accent one little phrase. What you said is perfect, about this cultivation of warmth toward your world. And that inspires the best in people, that warmth. But you did say one thing that I just want to accent before I throw you this last softball, which is you said to see through the veil. To see through the veil. You said that. Did you remember you just said that?
Now I do.
Yeah. That part of what I think this practice does in terms of leadership is clearly it opens our hearts, makes us more available to our world from a sense of tenderness and availability, for sure. That's where that love that you're talking about comes from. But it also enlivens a sense of clarity where we can see the situation clearer. We're no longer blinded by our biases, our aggression, like you said. That a certain veil is pulled aside so that we can see our world clearly, not as some deal that we're going to get goodies from. The only thing that's going to fulfill us comes from our heart. We actually see the world clearly. And in that way, that clarity is kind of the beginning of being skillful with the world, because you can't just go in and love everybody. This is running a business like you do. You got to be tough. You got to be edgy. But it requires seeing clearly and maintaining a level of intelligence and wisdom in how you gain things. It's not just from the heart; it's also from wisdom.
And you were always unbelievably you were so instrumental in those years of dealing with some very difficult situations that were arising in the business at the time, and just continuously not be afraid.
Yeah.
Just not be afraid, and remember that all is good, and I can be here myself without this. And I think that's part of, like, at that time, I might not have said it ever in a way of like there was a veil. Like I would have just like blindly been jumping in.
Right.
So I think in time and practice and experience that some of that like all the teachers where the clarity just sinks in at different points in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I get to throw you the final softball that I throw everybody who honors us, the audience, to come and talk to. Now, and the audience doesn't know is you were a baseball player, but what league were you in? You were a pitcher, right?
No, I was an infielder, and I played at Northwestern and was drafted by the Detroit Tigers, but only played for one short A season in Jamestown, New York.
Ooh. And you didn't play shortstop, did you?
No, I was second base.
How do you catch balls that go that fast, man? Man, that's ridiculous. I used to pitch like in Little League. That's as far as I went. And, I could throw a ball straight, fast, that was it. But then they'd hit the ball and it goes so fast. How do you catch it? How do you do that? I'm just curious.
Instincts.
It's amazing.
But practice, instincts, same as other things in life.
Yeah, but
right?
that shortstop and second base is just as bad, basically. I mean, that ball's going, 200 miles an hour, some crazy thing?
I think somebody in your audience, if they play baseball, they might correct you on the exact speed that the ball's coming out at us.
Okay.
But
it's fast, that's for sure.
It's not.
Okay, well, I'm going to throw you a very slow softball. Okay, so what advice, mindfulness, as you are well aware, is mainstreamed, and there are many people who are engaging the practice, many newcomers engaging the practice. What advice do you have for people who are practicing meditation and want to bring that into their lives and bring it into their everyday life?
So,
what 3 pieces of myself.
Oh, wow, you're
Three.
raising the bar. So,
No, that's the bar. Everyone gets three.
Okay.
Even though one of my guests goes, I'm not going to give you three. I'm going to give you one. So go ahead.
so I don't want to, I think it's easier to come from what not to do as opposed to what to do
Okay.
in my experience. And one is along the path of wherever you're at, it's to not judge yourself and get a case of comparitis, or meaning that certain part of the path you might feel like, why is this still bothering me? They said this would, if I did this, this, and this, and this,
Right.
and that it's really a journey of self-discovery, and just by not judging it makes I think that's the things that I would say not to do are probably going to be ways that are actually being kind to yourself in the process of it. So one would be to not judge yourself.
Okay.
Two is to, and maybe that was the only not, but the second one is to always try to remember that, who is the one that's watching the thoughts, who is the one that's watching the emotions, who is the one that's experiencing this world of form. I think that part of it becomes a very important aspect of it. At least it has for myself.
But may I ask you a question there?
Yeah.
Who is it that's watching the thought?
You'll be 1,000 times better at describing that than I would ever have. So once again, it's so just saying, okay, so let me go back. That'll be another not. So that just awareness that you're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions, and you're not the experiences that we so identify with as being real in us. And so, and the third thing would be that, and I think I started it out about like one of the benefits of, or what the practice means to me, or what it's done for me is just open my world as an A-type. I'm mostly in my head, and doing and thinking and planning, and what the practice has done for me has allowed also for that opening and understanding of that there are emotions, and there are besides just thoughts and planning, there are emotions, and that there is this physical body that actually is telling me a story along the path too, and to listening to all three, and observing all three of the mind and body and emotions, that it's been very helpful to understand as a whole that they're all talking. And if we can just listen a little bit and to what they're saying, that the body has a lot of wisdom as well. So, and that's been very instrumental in my path.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's interesting. My wife is a clinical psychologist, and she uses mindfulness in her work with teenagers, and it's almost like an epidemic of anxiety nowadays with young people. It's pretty intense. You're shaking your head. Have you been experiencing that among young people as well?
oh yes, at the store, and other people that other people that I know that are experiencing that, their children and so forth. It's gotten to another level, like you said.
Yeah. Well, your final point on the body, wisdom of the body. And she does these exercises with young people of, like one of them is soft belly breathing, where they train the young people, well, anyone, you and me, but in this case, young patients of hers, in how to center their breathing in their belly, and to sort of come into their body. And the body, when you settle into it properly, there's a sense of ease, a sense of presence. When you can settle in, when the cognitive aspect is in charge, the body, it feels as if it's but when you can rest back into the body, it has a natural ease and presence. And it's the use of like either body scanning for young people as well is so this, I just wanted to amplify your last point that there is a wisdom of the body that the mindfulness practice introduces. And nowadays, my goodness, the level of anxiety that seems to be emanating from young people in a world that just seems so getting out of hand. Thank you for that last point.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for your advice. Any final insights you'd like to share before we close?
No, I just love you so much. It hurts.
That's so funny. In any case, I don't know, people who are listening to this are all over the place, but if you're in Chicago, you should look up Continental lots for
Continental Sales. It's Continental Sales, lots for less. It's it's kitty corner from Chicago's Midway Airport. You can check us out on at our website is cslotsforless.com, the number 4. And if you just Google it, you'll see all the wonderful other ways to connect on social media.
Well, thank you. On behalf of a lot of people, Ron, on behalf of the thousands of people in your neighborhood, thank you. And your team for what you do. It's inspiring and it's delightful at the same time. So thank you very much. And thank you for having some time with us today.
No, thank you.